Hello everybody and welcome to our special coverage from Kyiv. I'm now joined by Kira Rudik, Ukrainian MP from the Holos Party. Thank you for joining us.
Hello, and thank you so much for having me.
Yes, now we just discussed earlier before we started these cameras how life has become so difficult here in the capital since Russia has been concentrating all of its effort on destroying the civilian infrastructure, energy infrastructure. It's been terrible with blackouts and what have you. So how's your life been affected over these past several months?
Oh, it has been indeed very hard and unbearable for so many people. Just like talking about today, I woke up, we didn't have electricity the whole night. Everything that was charged got discharged. I didn't have running water because the electricity is needed for that. We still do not have heating because it's provided by the station, and so this is how you have to start your day, figuring out if you have a diesel generator. If not, that you have to figure out how to get warm water to take a shower, then figure out how to dry your hair, and then continue with your day. And there are so many people. I would say almost everyone in Ukraine have faced difficulties like that. And as of right now, there are still civilian residences in Kiev that do not have heating and didn't have heating since January 9th. And we are still under constant attack. So even that our situation is bad right now, it can get worse. Yesterday we had electricity for 5 hours straight, and it felt like luxury. I don't believe like being so calm. I don't remember being so calm like that. But this is the reality here on the ground. So every time you're meeting a person like on the streets, this person have gone through like a very long list of struggles today just to be where he or she is right now.
And yet life goes on. People have to go to work. People have to get around the city, have to get food, things of that nature. I can only imagine just how difficult it is for many people here in Kyiv. That brings me to the money that's supposed to be coming from the European Union to support Ukraine for the next 2 years, 90 billion euros. Hungary right now is blocking this initiative, and well, they want the Druzhba pipeline to be repaired so that the Russian oil can freely flow to Hungary. What is the government's stance on this? And do you think that Ukraine should fix this pipeline so that they don't hold up the money?
Oh, definitely Ukraine shouldn't be fixing any pipelines. And again, even if we do, there is no guarantee that Russia wouldn't destroy it again and again and again. And this is a very obvious strategy by Hungary to blame the victim. We have seen this strategy by many other politicians over the last year or so, trying to put the responsibility on a victim instead of aggressor. From what we know right now, the government will provide some alternatives to help Hungary and Slovakia, trying basically politically to push back on their blockade. But we don't know what their position would be because we just heard about these news that the 90 billion that we really desperately need, that they will be blocked, and that will create a blockage from the IMF, who are also negotiating the next program. So I would say that it was a kick in the head from Hungary, but it was not unexpected. So let's see if there would be yet another way on stopping things like that. And it gets us back to a question about European unity and decision-making process in European Union, because we see that having countries like Hungary, like Slovakia, amongst the decision makers is just simply not going to work, and especially when we are talking about strategic future.
It's difficult within the European Union. Ukraine has been very successful in forming coalitions to get certain things. If we all remember the Western weapons, there were several coalitions that were formed for this. Is that how potentially Ukraine should be supported? Is through maybe a coalition of the willing that's willing to finance Ukraine?
Absolutely right. If you look at how things are going right now, is we are not getting support directly from NATO as an alliance, but actually its alternative, which is a coalition of the willing. Same way, we may not be we will not be a part of some alliance where there are countries that do not actually want us, but we need to become a member of alliance that will be able to stand for itself. Right now, it's easier to work with European Union as an organization, but again, given the decision making and all the issues, it seems that Ukraine has to build the connections and to build a collaboration on a state level rather than on organization level. And let's be honest, there has been so many frustration with these big international organizations and their ability to perform. We're talking UN as one, and there are many others. So this war is also a call for rethinking on how the international law works, but also how the international organizations are performing if there is no unity within themselves.
Mm-hmm. Well, that brings me to something you earlier mentioned, the victim blaming. We hear a lot about elections, and I know that it's somewhat of an internal debate, but I'd like to ask you a couple questions about this. I mean, is there a force within the within the Ukrainian parliament that would like to see elections, and on what conditions? Is this only in the case of a ceasefire, or has it been enough time and maybe there need to be elections in Ukraine?
So let's make it very clear. There is no force in Ukraine, and there is no demand within Ukrainian public to hold elections. Simply because we are concentrated on mere survival. And we have been concentrated on that for the last 4 years, and the last 3 months just have been unbearable. So let's think, when did this idea of elections come and where did it come from? And it came from Russia and Putin saying that Ukraine needs to have elections, and then it was supported by American administration and President Trump, who said that yes, well, if Ukraine is democracy, they need to have elections. I want to make it very clear that Ukraine is a democracy, and we are acting according to our constitution and according to our laws. And the Ukrainian constitution and our laws forbid the elections during the martial law. And it will be up to Ukrainian people and not Russian tyrant or American president to tell us when to have the elections. I'm opposing the elections before the stable end of the war, because elections will really tear our country apart. Because there are so many questions about the elections that are not answered and cannot be answered before we know that the war is over, that we can talk like for hours about that. But the question is about the principle. As of right now, we have not seen any single sign of Russia being ready for a ceasefire. We haven't seen any valid or feasible idea on when and how the war will end. And so talking that Ukraine is ready for the elections is one of the negotiating techniques by President Zelensky, trying not to allow American administration blame us again for standing in the way of peace. There will not be elections in Ukraine before the war is over.
I think I know the answer to this question, but do you believe that Russia is negotiating in this process?
I will ask you back. Do we see any single fact supporting that? And I will tell you here on the ground, we see zero facts that Russia is ready for negotiation, Russia is ready for a ceasefire, or Russia is ready for end of the war. What they're doing right now, they're trying to escape the sanctions that President Trump was threatening them with. So what is happening is actually a game of chicken, of who will blink first, regarding who will allow American administration to blame them for not wanting the peace. It's obvious that American administration right now do not have a clear end goal of like that should be justice for Ukraine, or that the end goal would be fair end of the war. They just want the war to end, which is again their position. However, Ukraine will not allow, and we will not allow, to have unfair peace that will be unjust for Ukrainian people. And of course, we will not allow, and we will not allow to have unfair peace that will be unjust for Ukrainian people. And of course, we will not allow to have unfair peace that will be unjust for Ukrainian people. And of course, we will not allow, and we will not allow to have unfair peace that will be unjust for Ukrainian people. And of course, we will not allow, and we will not allow to have unfair peace that will be unjust for Ukrainian people. And of course, we will not allow, and we will not allow to have unfair peace that will be unjust for Ukrainian people. And of course, we will not allow, and we will not allow to have unfair peace that will be unjust for Ukrainian people. And of course, we will not allow, and we will not allow to have unfair peace that will be unjust for Ukrainian people. And of course, we will not allow, and we will not allow to have unfair peace that will be unjust for Ukrainian people. And of course, we will not allow, and we will not allow to have unfair peace that will be unjust for Ukrainian people. And of course, we will not al Ukraine cannot be sacrificed for the sake of some political gains somewhere.
President Zelensky said that he wants this so-called peace process to have its place in Europe, and he also believes that Europe should probably have a seat at the table. Do you think that that would be a good idea? Do you think that Europeans should have a place at the negotiating table?
Absolutely. We are talking about the future of the security and defense of Europe, and that would be fair and just solution to have like one more participant in these negotiations. However, it doesn't seem that this is the case right now or going to be the case in the nearest future, which brings us to the bigger question about the relations between Europe and the United States, about future of the NATO, about future of European Union. And I think the solution and seat at the negotiating table lies within the solving of those matters of transatlantic relations.
On a personal note, just to finish up here, how has this war changed you as a person, as a human being? Have you thought about that? And
this is, I think we all stopped planning for more than a couple of days because you really don't know what's going to happen, even if you will be alive or not. I became very cautious about everything because you don't know, again, what's going to happen, and you have to try to predict and to make sure that your loved ones are safe and that you are safe, and you have to be very cautious about all the sounds, everything that you see. You have to plan for your safety and security. Of course, you're looking at your life as something that can end at any moment, so you don't put aside or don't put something to like, we'll do it next year. They may not be next year, so we have to do everything today. They may not be tomorrow. You have to love today, you have to support everybody that you can today. You have to participate in all the necessary means, conferences, political stages, political affairs, everything. You have to do it today because tomorrow is not given. You have to be grateful. So if I may, when we were talking about how hard it was during this winter in Ukraine, we still survived. Like, we have 1 week until spring. And we have done it not only because we were sticking together, but because we had so many people supporting us and standing with us. And there were so many countries coming up and sending here diesel generators, warm clothes, financial support, everything to allow us to live another day, yet another day. And for that, we are so, so, so grateful, because you just cannot imagine how it is when it is cold and dark, and then out of nowhere help comes. And for that we are grateful.
Well, we are also grateful in Europe that you're fighting this fight, and we stand with you in solidarity. Kira Rudik, Ukrainian MP from the Holos Party, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
And that concludes this interview here from Kyiv. Thank you for joining us, and see you next time. Goodbye.